Yes. Yeah, I think so.
Welcome to the planning and infrastructure.
When the weather improves.
I'll do please can you turn your mobile phones off?
It's done. I haven't got one. It's dead. Nobody rings me.
What?
Hang on a minute.
Nobody rings me. My grandson, who's actually not going to ring me tonight. He's in Spain.
People from Liverpool.
Right.
Liverpool.
Apologies have been received from Dark Driver, Hetherington Moor, Young and Crittenden.
Councillors.
Firm of solicitors.
I thought you said Dark Driver.
I know, it's because she say council.
That's a bit like the bats.
Without criticism.
Do you remember that?
Any declarations of interest from committee? No. The minutes of the last meeting, are there any objections to it?
Who's the second?
Yes.
Right. Do you propose?
Yeah.
Right, second, right, okay, proposed Councillor Nixie, seconded Councillor Hetherington. Right.
We voted on it, Chair.
Boston. Sorry, Anne-Marie, I know you're on my case.
Yeah, vote for it as well.
All those in favour?
Thank you, vote.
Right. So, looking at the planning applications, 25 Addington Street, called in by Councillor Wing. Do you want to?
They can be dealt with together because one's listed consent, so it's the same application. I just wanted to call it in because it is one of the oldest pubs in Ramsgate. And I think the changes will be positive, but I believe that will be an infill there. So where the stairs are, which will probably be a positive thing because at the moment it's just a dumping ground and has always been a dumping ground. But I am just conscious that inside the building, there are some really historic features inside the building that probably need, I hope, will be maintained, including I believe the stairway. I've not been in the building. It's what residents have told me that used to go to the pub when it was open years ago.
So do you want to?
Yeah.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, that's right. So you've got the existing ground on the first floor, as you say, the spiral staircase in the front and then the exit staircase there. So that proposed is actually going to remove that completely. And then have the side bit as the staircase to go up to the second floor. So they won't be retaining that as that's the ground on the first floor. Then you've got the second floor on the roof plan. So same again, the side bit will be the stairway going into each individual flat. Then you've got the basement, which is currently not used. But access is from the back for that, which goes past that wall. The ground floor communal hall goes straight through to the back to get access to go to the basement.
And what about bins and stuff?
So there's a flat one store.
So they've all got their own individual stores, right? Which is an improvement. That's great.
Just go to the streets. So yeah, that's what the infill will look like.
Okay. Infill looks all right.
I'll just have a look on the, sorry Chair, can I just have a look on the listed building application?
In relation to, is there a room, because obviously that will cover internal stuff as well, as to whether or not that includes the removal of the existing staircase inside, but that's part of.
I had a look at the application on the GDC website and they say that the staircase, although it's been there for a while, is not original.
It's not original.
And that they spoke to the heritage officer who said that it wasn't a concern.
Okay.
The staircase was going, but Heritage and Design Forum have said they object to it on the basis that the staircase is going.
Okay.
I wish we had a visual of the staircase in situ.
There is on the TDC website, there are some photos of the staircase. I don't know if I can get them up.
Are we assuming then it's a listed building?
Yeah.
And was it listed with that staircase in situ at the time or prior? Because isn't it a case of once it's listed, it's
Exactly, yeah. So,
I mean, obviously, if TBC have looked at it and said it's not an issue, they'll remove that. I'm just asking a question because in my naivety, I would have assumed if it was listed with that staircase, and that's.
I couldn't see the Heritage Officer's report. All I could see was what the applicants had said the Heritage Officer had said, which may not necessarily be the same.
Yes.
It's probably, sorry, Chair. It was probably listed in the 70s, I would have thought, 1973, 74, something like that. When that deal was listed.
but they were a drive around listings, they weren't, none of them were in depth. So, but if you're absolutely spot on, if it was there and it's all part of the listing, but there's nothing to say you can't, as part of that, to remove it. So, if the conservation officer thinks it's not worthy of retention, then so be it.
It's really interesting on the street because I think, and I know I'm maybe expanded into an area, but it also sits within a conservation area, and I have concerns about the inconsistency. Mm-hmm. So if a friend who, and it's just off Addington Street on Paragon Street, he wanted to remove the Edwardian bay that had been stuffed on a Georgian property, and he was told he couldn't, and it just looks ridiculous because he wanted to go back to a Georgian sash window on the ground floor, and he was made to put an a brand new Edwardian, which came afterwards. So it seems to me that sometimes, they'll say, well, it wasn't part of the original listing, and it's made to stay, and it's bad. And then with this, it may not be part of the original listing, but it's okay to remove it. So I find the consistency.
Can we make a proposal that we don't get subject to the conservation
Officer being happy.
comments?
Yeah.
In relation to the stairwell that's going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see the extension as being affecting the conservation area. I think it looks fine. So it's only a matter of
Yes.
Could we say something like, to approve subject to the conservation officer being certain that nothing is done that detracts from the listing?
Yeah, that's the same as what I meant. But
I'll word it.
Yeah, you word it. Right, we've got a seconder for that?
Could you just say that again? What was the proposal? Sorry, I was looking at
We were looking at the picture.
I was looking at the staircase.
And basically, it is that we've got no objection, we're happy with the application as long as the conservation officer is happy. It doesn't detract from the actual listed building.
Yep.
But I'll word it for you.
Yeah. Generally, I think it's an improvement.
So, we've got a proposal and a seconder. All those in favour? Right, good. So we can now move on to...
Just really interesting.
Councillor Wing, you've been busy. Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, erection of a fixed boat landing pontoon. Platform. Oh, sorry. I should have gone to Specsavers. And close proximity to internationally protected marine environment, SSSI, close to residents within 300 metres. So I think we need to look at this.
Do you know where they land their boats at the moment?
I know they've got, we met with London Array and we know they've got pontoon issues, really serious pontoon issues. So I don't know whether this is to overcome. It's sort of the near side one. So the row is the double thing and then their berth is this side, I believe.
Oh, it's Councillor Nixie.
Do we know the size of vessels that go into that though. I don't think Battle Falls vessels are
No.
particularly
They're not
large, are
large.
they?
They're not
More
large.
like the pilot boats.
Yes, they're exactly that size.
So in terms
They're a
of
bit bigger than the pilot boats.
impact on what you've said about marine life and residents and so on and so forth, I would have assumed it was minimal. I don't know what the platform will be like, but it's not like it's, you know, big heavy duty vessels coming in, is it?
I don't know, can I, sorry. The Marine Management Organisation actually states that any work in, on or under the sea needs to apply for a marine licence, so it'd be interesting to see whether that's going to be applied for as well, or insisted upon.
Yeah, I can't see a problem with it at all. Personally.
I would second that. All those in favour of no objections?
I've got no problem, yeah. I didn't actually say that, Chair, but I've...
Need more information.
I'll abstain.
Yes, I think I'll abstain.
I'm going to vote against because I don't think we've had a proper discussion.
Okay, I'm not sure that we can have a proper discussion about it because presumably it'd be scrutinised by TDC.
If it's called in.
Called in.
Need to call it.
You could say that about anything though, couldn't you? You could say, well, what's the point of having a proper discussion if it could be called in? But, you know.
Well, sorry, Chair, given the issues we had with berth 4-5 and the review of berth 4-5, which clearly stated a marine licence was an environmental impact assessment, TDC knew about that in 2015, but proceeded to pursue trying to get that application through without doing that. Yeah. You know, we need to scrutinise everything on the port to make sure that the due process is being followed.
Yep.
Right.
No. TDC planning committee needs to scrutinise.
Everyone
So they
concerned
did
with
berth
it.
4-5. They were involved in the budget for
Okay,
berth
but
4-5.
that doesn't mean that we have to.
I think it would be.
We can only operate on what we know and what we see in the application. Don't try and do TDC's plan.
Chair.
I think as ward councillors we have to express concerns.
Yeah, we have to express
Can I just say, what we're talking about is a boat in a port. Right? They're not dredging, they're not doing anything, the boat's coming into the port. Absolutely, they've got to go through the right process and the right channels, but it's a boat in a port. What do you expect in the port?
due process to be followed. There's all sorts of laws that need to be followed.
Yeah, but it's not but we're not dealing with, you're looking at a planning application. Part of that planning application, separate to the planning application, is the process that you're talking about. It's not for the planning application to deal with licences. That is not part of the process.
A marine licence is part of a planning application process, but it involves any work in or under the sea.
They'll take that into account. Any licence is...
Hope they'll take it into account.
Well, I think you'll find now...
I hope so.
I think you'll find out that things are different to where they used to be, because of the situation that TDC has gone through. You know, so I think you need to put this into perspective, not consider what was happened in the past. You've got to deal with this in a separate way. You've got one boat, one platform. So that's all I'm saying.
It's not one boat.
Councillor Huxley.
So when you're concerned about that application, then call it in.
I will call it in. We'll call it in. I'll call it in because Becky's on planning.
And then you can have a proper discussion, a public discussion.
And you can come
about it.
speak on it.
Councillor Green.
When looking at these plans, all I can consider is there anything about these plans that are going to interfere with the operation of the port? Or enhance the operation of the port? And I think on balance, they'll enhance the operation of the port, so why should I object to them?
Councillor Wing.
I agree with that, but will the works to the pontoon or any proposed new additional work, movements, affect the environment and people. And that is what the process in planning a marine licence is about. It's about making sure due process is followed and that people and places are protected as best as they possibly can be. Otherwise, we could all just do what we wanted. So it's not just about will it enhance the pool, how will it impact on the neighbours?
Yeah, well, you say that about absolutely every planning application. That is the due process of that. And 300 above coming into report, they're not bringing anything in apart from people getting on and off that goes out to the wind farm. Yeah. So that's currently happening by both the companies, London Array and Vattenfall at the moment, which causes no problem whatsoever. And a lot of times, London Array have to come into the harbour, not into the port, but into the harbour. No problems are caused, no noise problems are caused. There's nothing that's affecting the residents up on the West Cliff. So, Chair, I just go along with I propose no objection, Chair.
Well, I think we've already voted on that. And Councillor Wing wants to vote against it.
Yes, and Councillor Hudson has abstained.
And Councillor Hudson.
You've abstained as well.
Okay, that's carried. Right, so we can move on to the Age building in Charlotte Cross, which is interesting. Yes, I mean, first of all, and I'll let you talk in a minute, Councillor Wing, I'm interested in their site boundary. They seem to have included the whole of... Well, all of Charlotte Court's thing, and they put their bike store and their bin store in it. So, can we have anyone else with any comments here?
Where is their boundary, do we know?
Yes, Laurie, you can see the red. It's supposed to be outlined in red, so...
Yeah.
That's all of that.
I really know that that part of Charlotte Court isn't ours, which is always the problem when it comes to anything to do with Charlotte Court. So I don't know whose it is, because I know it was Saltworks, especially if it was interested in doing stuff, but we didn't have the authority to say they could garden and so on and so forth, because it wasn't RTC land. I am unaware as to whose land it is. I thought it was TDC.
Yes.
Right, so it's not Age and Sons then, so that covered, right, okay.
There is something, a councillor...
Chair, I've just asked if the application form can be with nothing on it. Because what it will have on the application form is the owners. So who the owner are, because if you don't own it, you have to serve notice on the owner. So that should have it on there.
It did say somewhere in the application that they are reinstating the outside eating area, giving the impression that it was once there, which doesn't mean say it was right. Councillor Huxley.
I don't ever remember them having an outside seating area.
Right.
No, they never had an outside.
The building's been empty for a long time.
Yeah.
Even when it was a restaurant, it didn't have an
No,
outside.
there's nothing outside.
That is owned by TDC, that.
Yeah, which has always been the problem, that's why I say it, because it's actually a nightmare trying to do anything with that piece of land. Let's face it, TDC aren't going to say yes to anything, are they, unless there's money involved. Is that on record? Good.
That's their application. They outline the site in red as then being the application site. Don't mean to say that's the owner site. They've made that as an application site.
Yeah.
So they would either they've been in contact with TDC or haven't. They don't have to make that. I mean, I would actually.
But he won't.
Object to this on the grounds that they could take over Charlotte Court. And I think, plus you've got the other pubs that back onto it as well, and I think that could cause a real problem.
Councillor Wing, were you about to say something?
They will have to apply, regardless of whether they own the land or not. They'd have to apply, I think, for a table chairs licence. So the two things are separate, but I do think it's cheeky. They've just drawn a line around something they don't actually own, and it's Heritage Lab, so we do know who heads that group up.
Yeah. Councillor.
I mean, I do think, when you go to other places like London or City, you've got outside seating, especially in a sort of like a more pedestrian area, it can be really lovely and enhance the area and look after it. There's a lot to be said for that. And I don't mind if there is seating out there and there are people, I do understand with regards to other businesses, but then it's almost up to other businesses to apply to do that on that land too, isn't it? So that's their choice. So I don't object to that necessarily, and I do find that bit of like no man's land quite soul destroying as you walk through it, because it is so bleak. And one of the reasons for that again is because it's not ours and it's not maintained properly. It is a bit grey down there, but I would also be cautious of what it is to become. I'd like to know a bit more, I think. Yeah. But I'm not against it for that. If they want to find DDC, yes, and they turn it into something beautiful, actually I think that might enhance the area as opposed to detract from it. But
they're also putting a heat pump in that gap between the buildings.
You'll have a heat.
Apparently a heat pump is not going to do the job. In order for a heat pump to be effective, it has to be like underfloor heating. I mean, it'll take the chill off, but that's all. Councillor Wing.
I find it just strange that because tables and chairs is a licensing issue.
Only on the highway.
So
Only on the highway.
Well, it's on TDC land, isn't it?
Yeah, but TDC can.
But if it's not their land, how can they use it as part of the planning application? That's what I don't understand.
Anybody can make a planning application on anybody else's land.
Yeah.
Don't mean to say you as the owner are going to let them do it. But anyone can make an application. Well, I could make an application down a port and want to bring a load of sand and stuff in, but I'm not going to. But I'm saying you could do that.
Yeah, Councillor Huxley.
There are the tables and chairs in the main square, whatever it's called, Charlotte Court.
Yeah.
So there's the tea shop, Corby's.
Yeah.
And there's the
One of the pubs, Jerry's.
cafe.
Jerry's.
Jerry's. Yeah. So obviously, you could do it.
Albert Court and Charlotte Court.
Yeah, they have also put their bins
Same thing.
and their back store in the bottom of Charlotte Court, which is pushing it a bit further. Councillor Austin.
They refer in their application to a change of use granted in 2008, change of use of land for the siting of tables and chairs in association with Age and Sons Cafe Bar. So at some point when Age and Sons was operational, something was agreed there, but the in association with...
Was it approved?
It says it was approved, yes.
There were never any tables and chairs.
But I don't remember there ever being any chairs outside there.
Somewhere else in that application, it said they were going to reinstate tables and chairs that apparently were there before. It could be good before dinosaurs. Yeah.
It's a very beautiful building. It's been empty for a long time. It was fixed used again.
Yes, all of that.
Miss tables and
It's just about making sure that...
They're not a problem, Chair, I don't think.
No, the building
I
itself.
must admit to being a bit confused. It's not a huge building. About where everything is going to go.
Yeah.
There's a restaurant and
space though.
And co-working space.
is it, well, having looked at floors
And a basement.
basement,
It's awkward though, isn't it? It's awkward.
Yeah.
It is,
Yeah.
it's quite large.
they have no wheelchair access despite asking for money for disabled.
No,
Sorry?
was that still in this building?
Yes.
The Age and Sons building?
Yeah. And they have got a disabled toilet. But there were 2 steps at the front door.
That come under building regulations for them to provide a
It will do, Part M.
disabled access. It's under the disabled act, whatever they need to do.
Can we suggest a motion where, because I think it could be a good thing, it brings the building back into use, so it could revitalise that area, but I can see a problem with some of the other businesses who go, what's going on here? We want some of this. So I think generally speaking, we like it, but we need a bit more clarity around the status of the table and chairs, the siting of the table and chairs and how these how it came, I don't know, just a bit more clarity around those tables.
Councillor Green.
Through you, Chair, can I ask if they're granted planning permission for that whole area, although they don't own it, I assume they're still going to have to ask TDC whether they can use it or not. But does that preclude anybody else using it?
I was sitting here thinking about at Margate, where Pete's Fish chip shop is, piazza there, and that was initially to do with Cafe G.
They had it to start. And now it's all the way along and it's different.
Everyone's got
sections.
Yes, different sections.
Everyone's
different sections are.
Yeah.
And like
they just have.
Like you have abroad where you have like that.
Get your food and just go.
Restaurants together, and they all got their own bit, you know.
I just asked Councillor Alden.
So that would be.
Councillor Austin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we don't know, that's the problem.
They've got planning permission.
Yeah, but the planning permission is granted on the land, no matter who makes the application.
That don't stop anybody else using it.
Then they've got.
They just need to ask for consent to be able to put their stuff on there.
Would that preclude anyone else for using it?
I don't think.
No.
No?
Not unless they put a specific condition on the planning consent, which precludes anybody else from using it. But I think
I don't think.
you can.
Can I ask how this will impact on our market?
It's in a different part.
Yes, that's what, you don't own this bit.
Isn't that thing
You have to go through there to get to our market.
Is it Horse and Groom, that bit there, isn't it?
Councillor Alden, would TDC expect to get rent on this, or would it just be something that is allowed?
They do.
What happens with Margate?
They do get rent from the occupiers of the businesses around the house.
Yeah. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah, no, that's what.
I think that is.
It will be rented out for fixed.
Of course they're going to charge, but it won't be extra normal.
I'm just checking on what status
Tables and chairs can be. So it's a different application for the actual tables and chairs.
Yeah, but I do wonder about their bins and the back store in there, because that is like they are owning land and they don't own it.
Yeah, could I make a proposal that in principle we accept the material change in the use of the building?
I thought it wasn't a change of use.
Yeah, it's because it's sui generis because of the event. They want to do event there, so it's sui generis. So we approve that, we support that, but we have concerns about the use of the space within Charlotte Court. And
like upstairs.
So we ask for that to be clarified as to who can use it, why can they use it, blah, blah, blah. I know blah, blah, blah isn't something for you to write down, Eileen, but
It's not just the tables.
it's the chairs.
And it's the chairs and the plant pots. You know, who will clean it, for example?
Well, that's something else, but
And the bin store.
the use, that's what I'm saying, the use of Charlotte Court is an issue.
Yeah, that needs to be clarified. Councillor Green.
Could I ask then, what's the advantage to them of including that in their planning application?
Because it's...
Hang on, have you?
If they make an arrangement with the owner, TDC, they don't need planning permission to do that.
They need, well, they've got that as part of their application, that site. So that's subject to planning law, because it's part of that application. It's a change of use of there. I mean, I can sit there and you can sit there with getting a can of Stella Artois and a sandwich and having a sherbet. But if they're going to use that for business purposes, then that is a change of use of that particular place.
I'm very surprised.
I understand they need planning permission
Ah, sorry, I misunderstood.
for the building. Why include that piece of land? They must see some advantage into
Their bin store and their bike store.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah.
I'm very surprised that Ken from Saltworks
Hasn't raised his.
Hasn't raised it, I haven't seen objections.
no, there was no objections there. But I don't think there was a conservation officer that went either.
Or on the previous ones.
Ken would have got a letter though, wouldn't he? He would have got a letter, Ken.
Yeah,
A letter.
but he normally shoots off like a rocket.
I think there's been a bit of a delay in putting these through, so it may be that notifications to neighbours and whatever haven't gone out until fairly recently, and there might be stuff coming in yet.
Okay, well, I might have a word with them. Yes, Councillor Green.
I'm happy to second Councillor Alban's
Yeah,
motion.
so could you read?
If the deputy mayor.
Yeah. We object about a bin store in there and a bike thingy in there.
He didn't say that.
It's public land, it's public land.
In principle, RTC accepts the material change of use of the building, but raises concerns about the use of space within Charlotte Court and asks that this is clarified. Now, this is clarified at decision. If approved, or is that?
No, because I think we've got to do it before it's approved, so,
Regards to the bin store.
yeah. We object. We object to the bin store. It's going to stink, isn't it?
It will.
And just very carefully managed to remove all sorts of bins from public space in Cavendish Street, finally, in that area, with the assistance of TDC Cleansing, who are quite vociferous about wanting to make sure that public spaces are free of commercial bins. So let's start with.
But the difference with that is that people could drive down there with all their old fridges and household waste.
Yes.
Nobody would see.
So we want a bin store, but within the building.
Yes, it can go in that side passageway.
The other thing is, if that area was included in the planning application and you mentioned that they want to run events, so does that mean that the events will be run outside the building as well, which could impact on the residential?
That is another thing, isn't it? Yeah.
It doesn't say that though, does it?
No.
So I'm assuming because obviously there's going to be noise if they have it out there, which is going to affect quite a lot of people. So I'd imagine any events will be inside the building, but that's just.
Well, if they're outside, they'll need to,
Yeah, and environmental health will put restrictions and it's also kind of.
George, the Greek in Brook Street?
In York Street.
He put his big vent up in shop.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, and
sorted out soon enough.
got sorted out, yes, he had to take it down.
Out the one.
On this chair?
Yes, we can. So we've had a
Add to that proposal that RTC suggests that bin store and bike store are placed within the building siding.
Yes.
Yes.
Rock and roll.
Cheeky devils.
Yes.
David Green.
But it's changed since we had the second before. All those in favour? And so,
Sorry, we just had a bit of a flourish in Central Ireland. We've got none the next month.
This next one, there's licensing, isn't it?
application to 24-hour sale of alcohol.
Oh, blimey.
In your ward,
Both.
at the lovely petrol station.
Oh, I sent this one to you, didn't I? Because we're getting the licences now.
Yes.
They're sending them through.
Finally, we're getting them through. Yeah.
It's that Merco garage I'm thinking of.
Anybody, I mean, I don't think it's a good idea, but, no.
Into the area. It's a very, very built-up area. There's a lot of residential
Yes.
there. And it doesn't strike me as a good idea at all.
No.
What I couldn't see, looking at the application, the information that we have, is well, they were said that they want to vary the conditions under Annex 2, but I couldn't find Annex 2, so I wasn't quite sure what it was I wanted to vary. But it didn't strike me as a great idea, I'm afraid.
Councillor Betsy.
Can I ask what the licensing terms are for that particular premises at the minute? I mean, is it up until 11 or?
Probably, yes, usually.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had the same in West Cliff Road.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Till midnight.
Did that go through?
So,
Till midnight.
24 hours.
Thank you.
I can't see a problem with it myself. But I do like so.
At 4 in the morning.
No. No, unless I'm party. The amount of people who are out 4 o'clock in the morning are few and far between.
Can I just?
It's not on Harbour Parade.
I'm just going to put this across. It's not. I'm not saying this is the reason we refuse it, or is it going to stop it? But we had a councillor surgery the other day, and a gentleman was talking to us about the problem of the petrol station near his house, where it's used throughout the night for various things, people buying stuff, but also it's a bit of a drug drop-off because it is what it is. Now, if they're open 24 hours anyway, I mean, they're open 24 hours, whether they sell alcohol or not, it's not going to change that aspect of it. But I do think we need to be, or we don't need to be naive, and we do need to be mindful of what is open during the night for people to be able to go to and so on and so forth. And there isn't a reason that you necessarily need to get alcohol at that time of the morning, is there? I don't know. But, I mean, but that's the person's choice. And I understand that, But there again, we never used to have that, did we? So, I mean, you know, it's one of those things that's come across, it has to do with marketing and money, it has to do with people's freedom of choice. But I do think that it does have an element of antisocial behaviour attached to it, and we need to be mindful of that.
Councillor Huxley.
Legislation is very pro the applicant, so the most of them go through, unfortunately.
Yeah.
If environmental health and the police object to it, then it will probably go to a licensing subcommittee, but I don't know whether they have. And probably they're unlikely to. It's just the law is very pro the applicant, unfortunately.
Well, can we say we object to it on the grounds of nuisance to the local residents?
I don't care.
Yes, is that a proposal? I would second.
Right, okay. All those in favour? And you?
I'm not sure you meant to.
Do you want to go up there and get your midnight? Right.
No, against.
Objection, Chair.
Objections?
Against.
Against? And one abstain. I think that's it. I want to apologise to everybody having forgotten how to do these meetings.
Next meeting.
Oh, the next meeting is the 6th of September.